All right. So one of the absolute best ways to grow yourself is to attend live events. And so as someone who puts on virtual events, I'm of course a huge proponent of that, but I also highly, highly, highly believe you should attend in person, live in the flesh events, so to speak. And so to talk about how he got into the whole space of live events, I am super excited to bring on the organizer of AMZ PowWow, Joel Wohl. So, Joel, thanks for coming on Maximizing E-commerce.
Thanks for having me. Let's maximize Amazon events. Power.
Yes, yes, yes. So let's just get into a little bit. Who are you and how did you get into the event world?
Very loaded question. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds so easy to say, but there's probably a lot more moving
I'm not sure
pieces
if you
to
guys are
it.
ready to handle who am I, because I got some deep skeletons there.
Okay. Yes.
So the way I got into events, I'm a social creature. I like meeting people in person. I love having a good time. Um, but I also am very focused on my goals. So I'm very strategic. So I'm
Hmm.
not just a party person. I never just party for party's sake. I'm not anymore anyway. These days it's very strategic, right? And I think what happened was I became what they call a LinkedIn influencer back in I don't know 2016, 17, 18 or so.
Oh, okay.
And what that brought to me was kind of like the networking and bringing people together, but keeping things business focused. And that's really became my strong part of having that fine line of knowing how to walk that fine line, which I think is something a lot of people struggle with, in the influencer world and in the business world. How do you keep how do you bring the two together, the business, the networking, the serious, and then the fun and the social? And as you probably know, I actually took that model and created another platform, which is a LinkedIn Challenger, and that's where I wear my other hat. So
For those who aren't watching video, you literally are wearing an AMZ PowWow hat and shirt. So you're representing the event well.
I came across a product yesterday that's a hat with a screen on it, and I want to get that because then I
Oh.
just switch logos out. Like
Oh, gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. So
now
it's
with this one,
interchangeable.
yeah. So, and I think that's like I said, I think it's a very important component of this thing of finding that right, that happy medium of doing the networking and the fun, doing the business and the serious, bringing it all together. So over the years, I got better and better at it. I'm still a work in progress, but we discovered a lot of unique opportunities of making business fun and making networking and events productive. And I did it in different industries, different capacities, as a speaker, as an organizer, and now a year ago we launched this event business, which is just bringing all my background and knowledge together into this tight package, and wrapping it up in the Amazon, which is my background. It's what I'm involved with. So it all kind of comes together nicely. So it's really a dream business. Thanks for
Mhm.
asking.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, the interesting thing is there's a lot of people that ask about events. Like I've been in the event world since before I was ever in the Amazon e-commerce world, and people have always asked me like, "How do I get into events? How do I do events?" Everyone thinks they want to host an event until they realize just how much absolute work it is. How many like you start realizing all these little moving pieces that like they don't just happen. Like you think it all just unfolds when you go to an event, but nobody has any idea of how much work actually went into it until you plan a birthday party for 10 people. Then you realize if I was going to do this for hundreds of people, this would be nuts.
I mean, I always say that I come from a very large family. There's a lot of weddings and bar mitzvahs and all kinds of things, and I'm like, people freak out about a wedding. I'm like, wedding, easy. I can do it in my sleep,
Right.
literally. Compared to what goes into not even a large scale, even like a small to mid scale business event.
Mm-hmm.
There's each time, like the day it's over, we're ready to jump into the next one, and we forget how much work it is. And this takes like if you wanted to do it right, not the way we're doing it, you got to put in 12 months of planning for a sizable business conference. And as you know, there's Prosper, there are other like yearly events,
Hmm.
and they have a company dedicated to all year long, presumably working on the event. And then you get there, and it's just you go to scan your badge, and you walk into a big room. Maybe the security looking at scanning people are looking at you, and then you walk into a giant room, and there's booths, and there may be some food and drinks, and like, okay, so what? Where exactly is the hundreds and hundreds of details? But I don't know where it gets lost at the production. But pre-production, there's so much planning. It's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, and that's so true because a lot of people don't realize, like, it's not the field of dreams. You don't just say, "Hey, I'm having an event today or this day," and people are just going to come because all these people that are attending generally have a lot of details they have to go through. They have to book a flight. They have to choose which flight, which airline, what time, what they have to book a room. They have to book it by a certain day. They have to what type of room, what credit card they're going to put it on. Is this worth their while? Like all these little decisions have to be made. So if you think about it, like if you're attending an event, imagine like when you're putting it together and there's so many little things and people forget, even those of us in the business, until you're in the middle of like that crunch time of like, a few weeks out, like there's a lot that I got to do to make this happen.
It's like the one thing we remembered was this time, okay, we're going to book our rooms in advance. So a month ago or 6 weeks ago, I took an hour and even that, right? Just get everyone's names and this, that, and just book the rooms and how long and you're coming when. And the flights is the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And today I'm talking to our badge registration company and I got to book rooms for them. And there's so many details that you don't even think about. And I think a good event is one that's really good on the details, that plans and executes, according to the hundreds of little minor details.
Yes. And one of the other things that I think a lot of people don't realize when you host an event is there is no, sorry, we got busy, it's going to be tomorrow. It's if the event starts at 9 a.m., it starts at 9 a.m. All these people that flew around from all over the country, the world, whatever, it's not, hey, I'm really sorry. It's going to be next week. Just stick around. Just, sorry about that. It's happening. So
it's one shot. I mean, at our Miami event, and like I said, we're fairly new at this, but at our Miami event, we're going to. It's November. It's beautiful 70s, high 70s, I guess, the weather, and we hope to have a beautiful outdoor event at 6 o'clock, and it starts pouring in the morning, and it is miserable. It is dark and stormy, and we smiled and moved it to another area, and I smiled at the rain all day because ultimately, if you're going to get stressed out about those details, forget it. But I mean, anything could happen. I mean, look, walking into this now, God willing, all should be okay. I mean, so many different things. Even like I try to be a religious person. I don't classify myself as a religious person because I think you're not. It's not a class. You have to work on it every single day. So one of the things the reason I'm saying that is because I think to myself, like I pray that my family's okay that day. Like the kid is not down with this. So like so many things can happen when it's that one day. It's just one day. You get one day. Well, it's 2 days in this case, but so many things, like hurricanes. Who knows, right?
Right.
We don't want to talk about it, but it could have. Flights can be delayed. I know there was another event where like half the flights got delayed. Like, things, and then that's it. It's over. Next day, there's someone else there. And
right. Yeah. So sorry, someone else has the space that day. So,
I mean, it is what it is. That's the nature of the business. When it's successful, it could be hugely successful for everyone involved, and for us, the success does not mean us making a whole lot of money, although that's a nice part of it. Overall, strategically, we work with our both our speakers and our exhibitors, and I don't know if we discussed yet the mini events we're going to be doing with our speakers, but we this is all in for us. There's a lot of different ways that we're working with our partners. It's not just about filling up the room one day. But it took me away from my point. I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, so it's the success of the event, right? So success does not mean us making X amount of dollars.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Our first metric of success is that our exhibitors and our attendees are happy. So and if that happens, it's super successful. If that doesn't happen, or something, it can be super unsuccessful. So it's not. If anyone out there wants to jump into the event business, I would not encourage that whatsoever.
Gotcha. And not just for competitive reasons, but just because it is a lot of work. Now, one of the things that, as I understand it, you guys, it was about a year ago as we record this, which now it's June of 2022.
Yeah.
You guys had hosted an event in New Jersey, I believe, last summer. And then, like you said, there was one in Miami, and I was at that one, and I was speaking at that one. And what was interesting is, like, as a speaker, you don't know like how many people are going to be coming to this. And I think whether I'll just say this, I won't say who, but there were speakers who are like, if there's 20, 30 people there, I'll be happy, because there's so many first time events that you hear about, and they might have 50 people. You guys had hundreds of people, and this wasn't just like a good time for sellers. This was like early November, as everyone's like really head down, focusing in on the holidays. Yes, you could say, oh, it was Miami, so it was November, people want to escape the cold. But how did you convince people to do that, to go there?
So I have a very bad quality that sometimes I can leverage for good, and that's I believe things are going to be all right. Right. So like in my family life, I'm the believer and my wife's the doer. Like I believe the pool is just going to clear itself. I shouldn't talk about pools and stuff, but I'm in Jersey Shore. Everyone's got a pool. Every house has a pool, so it's not like a luxury per se. Anyway, but like I believe it's just gonna open itself up, and whatever May 1st, clear up, and the pipes, everything's gonna be working, right? I'm the believer. Everything's gonna be fine, honey. Don't worry. I push it off but she's the doer. And then it's not exactly the example. I'm just sitting here facing that way, so I said that. But the point is, like, I have this fatal flaw or quality where it's good. Like if I imagine it, so it's like that. So it can be terrible when it comes to like not calling the plumber to fix the leak, because it's just going to be fine. But it can be great if I decide that the event's going to be a success and we're going to have 1,000 people. And we did this New Jersey event. It's interesting because it was post-COVID. Well, for some people, it's never post-COVID. But for us at that time, in let's say April, May of 21, it was kind of like, okay, things are getting back to normal. But there was not yet been like a I think Prosper of 21. I'm not sure what date that was.
I think they hosted their 21 in like July.
Yeah, so this was before that, right? So we were like April, May.
Okay.
And thinking about, okay, so we're like, just let's do an outside event, one of our backyards. We'll get some sellers from the community in, and we'll just do something nice. Make a couple of bucks, just like a nice COVID bonus, because we were kind of struggling at the time. And then it's a long story, but somehow we got together with Yehuda. I already did an event with him 3 years ago for charity, an Amazon event. Don't ask, it's weird. But, okay. And then we said, okay, well, let's go and let's get this venue and let's do it right. And we filled up. We had like 350 sellers, I think, and like 35 exhibitors and something like 10 speakers already. Like that was July of last year. After that, we said, you know what? The exhibitor said, oh, this was amazing. It was on a golf course, in the banquet facility, like on the golf course, overlooking the greens. It was really nice. And then because it was X amount of square feet, whatever it was, 7,500, 8,000, I'm not sure what the square footage was. It was jammed. It was jammed. The speeches were jammed. It was popping, and people were like, wow. They did not expect it. We didn't expect it either. And exhibitors were like, okay, what's next? And we're like, Well, we're going to do 1,000 people. We'll do 1,000 people in Miami, and I got that idea of 1,000 people, and we did it. So I think we had between 700 and 800 attendees, and then
Oh
we had
wow.
yeah, then we had like 70 exhibitors with I don't know, 2, 3, 4 people per. So there's a lot of people there.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, then
because
look at there was the speeches, there was the cafe area, and then there was the exhibit hall, and then we had that long porch. They were all jammed, all day. Every area was just jammed. So it was definitely an action-packed event, and we because it was an idea that we knew this is happening, and we had a predetermined size. We said we're going to have 1,000 people there. This is happening. And I think people came on, and we did the necessary things to earn people's trust. And I think we're doing it again. We did a couple of smaller events as well in the interim because we weren't busy enough planning big events, so we did a couple of small ones. And now we're cautiously optimistic that we can double the size of that event and make this something really, really large.
wow. So that's awesome. And for those who were at the event, you could probably imagine you get there and you're like, wow, this is a lot fuller and bigger. And the nice thing too is it was just a good overall feel.
Yeah.
Some large events you go to and you feel lost.
So there's a lot of little components like that you just have to plan. You got to plan the space right,
Mm-hmm.
right? So say you go to Prosper or quite frankly any other like large Las Vegas show, or I don't mean Amazon, like in any industry. Many times
The association of wire spoolers.
yeah, and
Let's just say
sometimes yeah.
there's an association literally for everything.
I say Prosper because that was the last Las Vegas exhibition hall. Like one of the Las Vegas, whichever one it was, I don't even remember which one in Vegas it was. But those things are huge, right? They're 100,000 plus square feet. And if you don't plan the space right, many times you're walk. I was just at the Javits Center actually, right? A good example. At the car show, we went with the family just to have a nice day and just see all the cars and stuff. And there are some areas that are just so vast, and if it's not filled up properly, and you leave it all open, it just feels very empty. There's a vacuum. You
Mm-hmm.
got to fill that vacuum. So if you've got that amount of space, you need to block off half of it. And and even if you do that, you got to make sure it doesn't look like it's blocked off. So there's a lot of like planning that goes in precisely how many square feet in an aisle, and then where you want the food to be, and then if you're serving drinks, what elements are combining to create some kind of vibe. You always need to have some kind of music. You want to have noise, but not too much noise. So there's a lot that goes into it where it can get complicated when it's not your venue. You're renting the place for a day or two. Are the speakers too low? Is it in an exhibitor's booth area, right? Making too much noise.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping the speakers comfortable, making sure they have a dedicated room where they can hang out, and a lot of different things that you need to do to get that vibe, set that vibe right where people are feeling good. And by the way, Prosper, I don't look at them as a competitor. I think they've been doing a great job for all the years. They reached out to us last week, and we'd love to collaborate. Right?
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So then we invited them over to our show. They're going to do a content about the show, and which is to their credit, hopefully to ours as well. We want to work together with everyone. And one of the points you said about a lot of events not having many people, it's the more awareness you create. And you said, I think that from a competitive standpoint, I think it's just the opposite. The more events, the more awareness, the more
Mm-hmm.
people are going to events. And if you're from the top 2, 3 events, if there's a massive attendees going to events, hopefully they'll attend yours.
Yeah, exactly. And so a couple little takeaways I took from what you just talked about there was one, backtracking. No, it was good. It was good. Backtracking a little bit to just the power of belief. Believe in what you're doing. Focus on the outcome you're looking for. And even if you don't exactly hit it, it's better to shoot a little bit high and miss a little bit than to, oh, we'll just see what happens. So kudos to you guys for that and making that happen. And
I
then
mean,
on
look,
the
yeah, I mean, we did the aggregator show, which we had this idea. It wasn't the best idea.
mm,
It was hit or miss. Some people loved it, some people hated it. And then we had some, I'll just say PR, like a little bit of a PR disaster. Something happened which we couldn't plan for. And then at the same time, the aggregators already started their decline, or the second generation. I don't know what you want to call it. So yeah, I mean, you gotta be ambitious, but it's not always going to work out. But it's better to be ambitious than not to be, right?
yeah, exactly. And I like that you just brought up something that doesn't necessarily always work. Like, and sometimes you got to try different formats of shows, different topics, and some after a while you kind of learn what topics are going to be more mass market, so to speak. Like I can see a show for aggregators being a great show if you're an aggregator who's looking for the right people, because it's going to attract the right people as potential leads, but that's not going to attract a mass audience, I would imagine.
Correct. And yeah, I mean, if the format for that show was supposedly maxed at 250 attendees, actually. So, yeah, I mean, you need to know. That's another thing, right? Like attendee count. Do you want to have 5,000 attendees? Well, are you ready for 5,000 attendees? So
Right. That's
are they going to wait the 2 hour line at registration?
mm-hmm.
Is there going to be enough coffee for everyone? Do you want to have 150 exhibitors? Well, you can have at least 1,500 attendees there, so it's full and they get their leads that they come for. So this is actually a very interesting conversation. I don't think I've ever done long form content just on the show business. And I myself didn't know all these details that are just coming out here. So
Well, yeah, it's probably good to kind of get it out there. And what's interesting too, another thing, going back to something I picked up from what you said was, collaborating. And so just the things you can pick up from conversations, if you don't look at, whether in this case it's AMZ PowWow and Prosper Show, like look at each other not necessarily as competition, but how can you raise the tide for all boats?
yeah,
And we forget that sometimes maybe our competition isn't necessarily our competition. They can also be collaborative. Like I know people who know some of their competitors and have a great relationship with them. Maybe they don't share all the secret sauce, but they at least like, hey, here's how we can collaborate on things. Because the more people are looking for calculators or whatever, I just picked something off my desk, or whatever your widget is, maybe there's something you could combine efforts to help one another.
and it's interesting, right? Because two things. I'll say make 2 points on that. Number one, I think 4 years ago when I was out there on LinkedIn creating content, Amazon, maybe it's a 20, could have been the 2019 show even, where I called the Prosper founder. I forget his name. The guy with the glasses, with the plaid shirt.
I'm not sure.
Okay, so
A gentleman.
yeah, I got connected. I forgot. I just was talking about him yesterday. I don't know his name. But I got connected with him, and I'm like, almost like pleading with him, have me there in some capacity. To his credit, it was too late in the game, and he's like, let's talk for next year. And I'm like, I was never talking about next year. I was always talking about this week. I never planned ahead that way, which is something I'm learning more and more. And it was like, I'm going to bring you so much value. I don't think he even was willing to give me a free ticket. And it wasn't like about the ticket. It was more like, I'm going to be there creating content for you. And I think my posts alone probably got combined with, at that year, likely all the other posts in visibility. But point was, like, I don't want to just like pay for a ticket. It just felt stupid to me. I just want to come and do stuff and make some noise. But point is though that I had aspirations though, and I wanted to speak, I wanted to present, I wanted to lead things. And Prosper to me was this giant thing, and they are a big show, and
they've done a great job.
They sold to a public company, or right, I believe, and
I think so too.
Yeah, and you know what, last week they called us, right, to collaborate with me. It's like and I wanted to go out there kind of see what they're doing right, what they're not doing right. And I do this not only with I go to different shows, not only our industry, just as
Hmm.
registration but I didn't want to intrude.
Mm.
I felt maybe they'll, if they know me, they'll look at me as a competitor. So I reached out to Eitan Gatita, who was one of the Prosper founders or
Oh,
builders
okay. Yeah, yeah,
before,
yeah.
before he got out, and others. And I said, okay, what some exhibitors that are on their exhibitor advisory board, and I'm like, what do I need to do to? I don't want to intrude. I want to, introduce myself and not like, you know, and they're like, it's just a big company. Just go, like, who cares? They won't have a problem. And like I was a little nervous about it, but the point
Hmm.
is though that they were like on our call. They were very welcoming. They were very accommodating, and I was definitely felt the same way. So, but yeah, it was interesting that I had this, like, I was trying to get into the show, and now I'm building something maybe bigger, right? The other thing is, when you look at competitors, and this is not really about the show business, this isn't any business, right? So let's say, right, let's just say Prosper, and with all due respect, and this is not about Prosper, but let's just say Prosper comes to our show and they see, like, oh, we're having a fun time. Okay, they want to replicate that, right? It's not, you can't replicate something that you see, because you're not looking at
Mm.
the planning. You don't know what went into to acquiring exactly that uh, context. It's like two people can smile the same way, talk the same way. They're never exactly the same way, because there's been so much in their
Hmm.
backgrounds in the past that make things different, even though you can't really put it on paper. So in other words, you can put a bar, you can put music, but somehow it's different. You really can't. And that goes through just competition. If you're an Amazon seller, and you want to compete with a product, or on price or on quality or whatever, um, or you're afraid of others competing with you, there's no such thing as like really straight up competition.
Mm.
It's there's always differentiators. There's always USPs, so to speak, that set you apart. And then, so never be afraid of someone ripping you off, because if you continue to be creative and unique, you've got something um, that's yours.
So true. That's so true. So make it your own. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about kind of what's next. So, uh, about a month from now, as we're recording this, so when it comes out,
Yeah.
probably be a little less than a month. There's another AMZ powwow, not in Miami. You're going a little north. You're going to West Palm Beach. So for those who aren't familiar, it's about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on South Florida traffic, up north from Miami.
Yeah.
So, what made you decide to go to West Palm Beach, which is great for me because it's even closer to where I live than Miami is?
Okay, that's great. So that's another thing, right? Location. Like, how do you
Mm-hmm.
find the right location? So we wanted to be very, very cool and smart, and you know this because I think we discussed venues and all that stuff, and we wanted to go to California. We're looking at San Diego, and at the end of the day, Florida in particular is always attractive. It's always
Mm-hmm.
nice to go to Florida. Like, no one ever says, "I gotta go to Florida again." Like, I've never heard that. I've never heard anyone
Yeah.
say, "I gotta go to Miami." You like going no matter what, no matter if it's too congested, or people like going. The weather's nice. It's they're nice. South Florida's nice. Typically, it also is not too expensive to fly there versus other destinations. Um, and although now ticket prices are up, which is a little bit of a scare for us. For us being in the East Coast, on the East Coast, same time zone, so easy to transition over. Like, you going to California or going West Coast, you can easily lose 6, 8, 10 hours of like brain time,
Mm-hmm.
just transitioning over. So you don't want that with an event. And the same for attendees who are traveling from different places. You want to make sure they're well adjusted. So Florida is a good choice. So we're looking at exhibition centers that are um, flexible enough to work with us, We've got the kosher angle, so a
Mm.
large percentage of our community and our network are kosher,
Hmm.
us included, which makes it a little difficult because a lot of venues make their money on the food.
Hmm.
So, for example, hotels will literally give you the ballroom free for the trade show, but
Hmm.
they make their money on the catering, on the
Exactly.
cocktail,
Yep.
bottled water. Bottled
Hmm.
water can be $7 for a bottle. So next time you do
Right.
an event, guys, don't grab more than one bottle. That costs
Yeah.
us a lot of money.
Don't start throwing a bunch in your bag. Don't give yourself a roadie because it's expensive.
I know people complaining about other shows about the water and the coffee. Was it not? I'm like, well, I get it. It's super super expensive. So we had to find a venue that'll work with us, and we tried many different ones, and we found Palm Beach Convention Center, and they somehow have like a very old fashioned mindset in terms of they're very friendly, they were very flexible to work with us, but yet the place is gorgeous.
Oh
It's
yeah.
corporate all the way. It's big. It's a real beautiful convention center.
Yeah.
Parking and exhibit halls and registration areas and all bathroom. Like, everything is perfect. So it just, and between me and you and whoever else is listening, uh, we might just use that place as a repeat. It's
Yeah.
and
You and
restaurant
Tony Robbins.
is that what he does? Or,
Yeah, so Tony Robbins is probably a little bit because he like lives 20 minutes away from there. But like if you ever been to Unleash the Power Within, if he ever has it in West Palm Beach, which I attended one time, and there was like 12,000 people. And so it's not like the place can't accommodate a big events. I mean, West Palm Beach is kind of overshadowed by Fort Lauderdale and Miami, but to your point, in West Palm Beach, you got great weather. There's a ton of stuff to do in the area around the convention center, walking distance,
yes.
and it's convenient airport wise. You got Palm Beach International, Fort Lauderdale um, International, which is I think a very underrated airport. Like my wife and I, whenever we travel, we pretty much fly out of Fort Lauderdale, and then you have Miami Airport, and then Orlando, but that's kind of like
That's
far. It's about
but
3 hours away.
Palm Beach Airport is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
That place is like a shtetl. There's like 7 people in the airport at all times. You walk in there at last time we were there to meet the caterer. I don't know, last 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was our flight back was 7 o'clock flight. We came into the airport at 5:55.
Okay.
All the shops are closed. It was like we're like it's a town in Europe. It's the cutest place. And then I went to the Express. I don't know what they call it, the counter, the air, or I forget what light. One of the programs that they expedite you, right? And that was
Oh,
lovely.
is this the travel one with TSA
Yeah.
where like they scan your eyes or something
It's
like that?
not
Okay.
it's not a TSA program. They scan your eyes, but it's like I don't know what they call it, air or light or something like that.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've seen it. I'm not registered for that.
Yeah, you can go register yourself, and if you're on Amex, it's free actually, which I didn't know. But
Oh,
so they pulled us out of the line at Newark and said, "Hey, why don't you sign up? Blah blah, 2 week free." So we did that on Newark, and then we came back. This is the first time we used this, and we go through that line, and then okay, there's 2 people ahead of us. So just wait here, hang on a second. And then we're like, wait a second, there's no one at the other line. There's literally nobody there. So it's a great airport to come in and out of. It's a 10-minute Uber from there to the convention center. Like you said, the streets are gorgeous around the area, shops and restaurants. I literally took my phone out and was like filming it, how beautiful it is there with palm trees. And it's just really nice. And yeah, it's just a great area. So for this event, for sure, who knows, maybe in the future as well.
yeah, and we'll talk about if folks want to go to the event. I will say this: one little kind of local tidbit I will give to folks is if you're in the area and you're staying, even if you're not staying at the hotel, go to the Breakers and just have a drink or a bite to eat. It is the most amazing hotel. It's called the Breakers of Palm Beach. It's this old, like, it looks like a cathedral.
So what is it like? Is it like a Biltmore family thing?
It was Flagler. So Flagler was an industrialist who pretty much brought, I want to say he brought the railroad all the way down the East Coast to like Key West. And
Right.
so he had built the Breakers. I think it's still there. There was a bar. The Breakers, I mean, it's like a 5 diamond hotel. Like it's like top of the line. Like my wife and I, after we attended Tony Robbins a few years ago, we were staying at a hotel somewhere in the area, and next to our hotel was the Four Seasons, and we had gone to the Four Seasons, had a drink there, and we're like, oh, Four Seasons. I mean, we were staying at a pretty nice hotel. I forget what it was called. It was still, our hotel was nice. Let's call it a 4 diamond hotel. Then we go to the Four Seasons, like, oh, this is Four Seasons. This is pretty nice. Then we went to the Breakers, had a drink there. We went back to the Four Seasons. We're like, oh, it's not the Breakers. If that tells you a little bit about kind of like the level of
Yeah, I mean,
the Breakers. Go to the Breakers. It's the most incredible building you will go to.
and then you got the whatever that place is called, Trump's place there too, right? It's somewhere. In
Oh,
there.
Mar-a-Lago. I don't know that you can get into
Oh,
Mar-a-Lago.
probably not.
Breakers is pretty open to the public, whereas Mar-a-Lago is
Oh,
not.
it's only like $100,000 yearly membership, I think. So
Something like that. Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
but yeah, place is really nice, and I discovered all the buildings don't have any signs. They don't allow them to have signs. I don't know if the buildings are historic or if it's just the etiquette, the what do you call
the rules of the area, like the codes, the building codes,
yeah, just for what's the word?
aesthetic.
Aesthetic. Is it
Yeah.
aesthetic? But yeah, I mean they're all like wealth management, you know.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
wealth management. I forget that there's a couple areas. There's like I wouldn't call it like downtown West Palm Beach. It's like closer to the ocean than downtown West Palm Beach is. But there's an area, I forget the name. It's like the Rodeo Drive of West Palm Beach, and West Palm Beach is not shy of a lot of rich people.
Yeah, I mean, we
but
walked from the exhibition hall till the beach, so it's like a mile walk, and you know, Lamborghini dealerships, and then there's
right.
wealth management buildings without signs, like little signs. So yeah, definitely a very interesting town to visit.
Yes. So for the folks that want to at least check out what is this West Palm Beach place, or they want to get a ticket, tell us again, what are the dates of the upcoming events?
Yeah, so it's July 12th and 13th, and we did something smart with ticketing, and it's powwowevent.com. And what we did was we want to give everybody access. We want to make sure that there's different ticket levels. So if you want to come just walk the exhibit hall floor, there's a $50 networking ticket. If you want to come and attend the sessions too, and there's sessions on the exhibit hall floor as well, right? And then there's sessions upstairs in the main auditorium. And that's a right now it's $100 to do all that. And then we got network, learn, and party. And that's the all access ticket, and that's at this point $200. And we keep on raising it incrementally. We want people to buy tickets earlier so we can plan appropriately for it. And that will include dinner the night on the 12th and the night the 13th. The 12th is kind of like a half day start. Registration starts at 1:00. 13th is all day long. So we think it's going to be a great show. We're planning a very, very tight format. And we just we pray that our projections of 1,500 sellers just magically popping up actually happens.
Well, I mean, one thing I will say is, events tend to be a very last minute thing for people to sign up. It's amazing how much people sign up last minute, even when flights and hotels are involved. So it'll be interesting, but I'm looking forward to it. So again, I'm a speaker there speaking on international selling. So I'm excited about that to come back. So thank you for inviting me back. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And for those who are thinking about an event to go to, this is definitely one to consider. And I'm not saying that just because I'm a speaker and I live not too far from there, but it really is a good vibe of a show. And some of it is back to your point about differentiating. You can't totally copy. Is that there is there is a kind of a soul to a show, and having been in the event world on the venue side, I would see sometimes, I won't say the names of companies or industries, but sometimes we would have some industries that would come in, we would have all the competitors, and there was a feel from one to the other. And so I'll just say this on a very positive note: you guys put together a very good show with a very good feel to it. So I would definitely recommend folks, if they're thinking about an event to go to. I know some people like smaller events, some people like larger events. Yours is kind of bigger to, I say medium to larger, but it doesn't feel too big. And there's some small shows that feel too big.
Yeah, the format, and then that's another point that sellers want to be able to learn from other sellers as well. And we're trying to create that format. Certain times you're here, there's only like 200 people in here, and then you go there. And so formatting the show by the hour is important. So there's always it's always more intimate than just sprawling, just big show.
Awesome. Well, yeah. So we will have a link in the description down below. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening to the podcast, it will be in the show notes. We'll have a link where you can go to, as you said, PowWow event or events. Events. The PowWow events, but without the the.
It's just the out for safety.
Yes. So without the, it's powwowevent.com. Okay. So because we're going to be attending a PowWow event. So go to powwowevent.com, and the link will be in the description as well. And grab your ticket. So thanks for coming on here and just chatting through kind of your mindset of how you got into the event worlds, talking about a little bit of the history of PowWow event, and also kind of what has worked and what hasn't. And I appreciate you being willing to share all that, as well as how you got to the location and whatnot, of what people can expect at this upcoming event. So for those of you who are listening, if you attend, please make sure to come up and say hello to both Joel and myself, and just introduce yourself. Don't be afraid to do that. And if you've never attended a live event, I can tell you people are more willing to talk to you than you realize.
What he said.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Joel.
Thank you, Kevin.